Hello there, guys. Thank you for tuning in and joining us. Welcome to the studio. You are tuned right into the Hidden Entrepreneur Show. You know I am your host, Josh Cary. Let's get right into this. My guest today is the founder and CEO of Break the Web, Inc., which is a digital marketing and search engine optimization company. That's SEO to you and me, with more than 10 years of experience. Now, what I love most about this is that I spent a very similar amount of time in the exact same industry doing much of the same thing for clients. So I get it. I like it. I appreciate it. We have plenty to talk about, including improving your reputation and visibility online, managing a big team, and picking yourself up after a failed business. Let's get right to it. Say hello and welcome my guest. It's Jason Berkowitz. What's going on, my man?
Hey, Josh. Everything's going great. Thanks for having me.
Absolute pleasure. So a fellow New York City-er, you're sitting in New York City now, right? I spent a great deal of time there.
I am. The city that never sleeps. A little muggy out here, but everything's still moving.
Were you born and raised in New York?
Yeah, I grew up in Western Long Island. They call it Five Towns, but I've lived here my whole life.
Yeah, I love it. Like I said, I don't hide it. I'm a fan of New York. I've now migrated south to the Great Garden State of New Jersey to do the whole marriage and children thing. A little more land, but I always long for the days I get to come in, see a show, have a good meal, and just feel the energy and the vibe of those streets. There's really nothing like it.
Absolutely. And you really touched on a really good point, land. That's something that I'm very envious about also. I want land, I want space, and you can't really get that in the city. So it's kind of a twofold in a way where hopefully the future will get me out of the city a little bit more into the suburbs somewhere, essentially.
All right. So you've created this SEO digital marketing industry. Again, one that I know very intimately. I spent the better part of a decade in that world serving clients. I'm guessing in the same way you do, although I know you're on a much bigger scale. But I know that this industry specifically, getting business owner websites to rank in Google when an ideal client is searching for the product or service they provide. I know that this is a very competitive industry. And I also know that it's an industry that when you're dealing with clients, more often than not, it's like smoke and mirrors or like magic to them. They don't really know what we do or how we do it or how the end result happens. They just want it done. And, we have to follow a very specific process to make it happen. But since there's so much intrigue on that point, there's a lot of trust that has to go into it from the client side to you to say, okay, help me make it work somehow in your magical way. And you're very successful in this. With it being such a competitive industry, what do you attribute that success to for yourself? How did you break that mold?
I think being the opposite of what you just said, being transparent with what you're doing and how you're doing it has been the biggest thing for us. When I first started as a freelancer, I actually called up all the air quotes, big SEO agencies out here in New York City to see what they were doing and what I might not like as a prospective customer or client. And at the end of the day, it became a number in the system, less real personalization within the campaigns itself, as well as quote unquote secret tactics that they can't really share. Now, I'm not saying that your SEO company has to tell you every single little piece of details of what they're doing, but the essentials. We know within basics SEO, we have on-page SEO and we have off-page SEO. On-page SEO is everything taking place on your website. So you should definitely be aware of what's going on within your website. If they need to make any changes, you should be in the loop with that 100%. And off-page SEO really consists of what we call backlinks, sending trust signals, relevant trust signals from around the web to your website. And that's how Google recognizes your website as trustworthy. And if a company doesn't want to share the backlinks with you, or they don't want to explain the process of what they're doing, it might be questionable, especially because backlink building could run the risk as well if they go for a certain type of quality that isn't respectable.
So you touched upon trust, which I think is so fair, so valuable. How do you, as the company, how do you get clients or potential clients to trust you?
That's one of our big selling points, to be honest with you, is the transparency factor, as well as case studies, a proven method of success. Also, no contracts is a big one. A lot of big SEO agencies need to guarantee revenue for themselves, so they'll do 6 or 12 months. One of the selling points is that we say is we have to earn your business each month. So with that being said, if you're not seeing results after 6 or 7 months and you're investing a lot of money and that ROI isn't there, then I wouldn't blame you if you have to take a second look at what we're doing as an agency. So those are the biggest things, is that showcasing what we can do, how we've done it, testimonials, case studies, explaining that we are a transparency agency. You get access to everything that we're doing, whether it's seeing all the data in real time with analytics and rankings, as well as backlinks we're actively producing for you. You get access to all of that. So that's been our greatest asset in establishing trust with our prospective client.
You've worked with some pretty big names. How many people are on your team right now?
I believe as of now, we have slightly over 10, maybe 11 or 12, but 10 full-time, 100% that are helping with the execution processes and pretty much everything under the hood.
How do you stay on the top of your game?
That's the hardest thing. Probably, since for me as the business owner, I've set a lot of accountability for myself, meaning that if we're hitting a stall point, it's likely my fault. And I have to remind myself that every single day, if we're not growing, as the person who's in my business in charge of business development, that's my fault. And then since I'm the SEO nerd that kind of created the systems and the processes, if our execution isn't up to par, and that's something that I also have to take a look back at and see what we can do to fix that, as well as get results for our clients. It's really holding myself accountable.
That's so impressive, because I fully agree that you use the F word, which I know people sort of cringe at, fault. It's like, somebody wants, oh, no, it's not my fault. It's his fault. He didn't do it. Why am I taking the blame? Well, it's actually powerful and in your benefit to own it, to take the fault and to move on and say, okay, this is my doing, my being, which means I can now change it, instead of making what the opposite is an excuse and saying, oh, well, if he didn't do that, this wouldn't have happened. Well, forget that. Take ownership, take responsibility. And that's what you're doing, right?
Oh, 100%. I think a lot of people like to make excuses. I think they call it in psychology attribution theory, where you fail to take accountability for things happening around you, where it's easy to, like you said, to put the blame on somebody else or something else that may be technically within your control, but you like to say, just because something didn't work out, oh, it's this reason why this happened. It's this reason, as opposed to saying, I just didn't do it right, or I didn't work hard enough, or I didn't want it hard enough. 100%.
Why do you skydive?
Because I'm crazy? No, it's actually something. I was actually working out this morning, and I was speaking to a guy in the gym that I work out with, and he asked me the same thing, because we had a conversation about 2 weeks ago that I skydive. He said that he wanted to do a tandem. I said, okay, I'm driving up in 2 weeks. Let's go. And I had a realization about a year ago that we were in Arizona on a lake, Havasu, and everyone was jumping off this cliff. And I jumped off, climbed to the top of the cliff into the water, and I was looking down. I'm like, why am I nervous? Why am I scared? 10 years ago, I would have done it in a heartbeat. And obviously, when we get older, we tend to grow more fear in life and fear in things. And I loved skydiving to begin with. I did about 6 or 7 tandems beforehand where I'm attached to somebody else. And I realized that if I'm loving this so much, I'm wasting my money doing these tandems. I might as well get my own license. And then, I just want to eliminate fear, add some excitement to life. I sit at a desk all day and then fly through the skies at night. Well, not technically at night, but that's really the big reason. And it's probably been like my most favorite hobby I've ever done. It's absolutely nuts, insane, exhilarating, euphoric, exciting, every synonym under the sun.
I love that you said, as we get older, we accumulate more fear. I can attest to that. It took me 4 decades to accumulate all the fear apparently I can handle. And then I said, enough's enough. And then just started working day by day, slowly but surely, to unravel all of that gunk, that fear, and say, I got to release all this, which it's exhausting to accumulate all that. And I'd like to hear about why you think that as we get older, we accumulate more fear when perhaps it should be the opposite.
To be honest with you, I think it's maturity. We're more mature in the way of we think about things. Jumping off a cliff into water may have a higher probability of injury if we hit a rock going down, if we land on our back or our belly flop. We start thinking about these things more, which allow us to get inside of our own head and be our own worst enemy. That's just my example. But I think we're able to see things more clearly from all angles and see that that fear is what's controlling us because we're seeing things more clearly. So in my example, again, jumping off a cliff, it's scary because, yeah, at the end of the day, I can swim, but it might hurt. I might hit a rock. I might break an ankle. I might land upside down, whatever it is. That fear was causing me from making that initial jump. I did jump. It was an awkward jump, but yeah, that's what I think.
How many years ago did you first jump out of a plane?
2008, when I was 18.
Oh, wow. So 10 years ago.
Have you ever jumped?
No, not yet. Although I've always, I've gone through phases. At points in my life, I thought, no way. But then somewhat recently, I thought, you know what, given the right time, given the right opportunity, I think that it's got to be. I think that it's something I will do and should do, certainly at some point before my time here is over. But what's interesting is next week, I'm actually going to Vegas for some business, and at the Stratosphere Hotel, they have a variety of thrill ride experiences, as they call it, experiences. And I've been to Vegas a handful of times before, always avoided this. And now this year I've said, you know what? I'm doing it. I'm doing the sky jump. So I'm absolutely planning it, which is, it's not bungee. It's just you're tied and then you just
like rappelling.
Jump. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, rappelling. Exactly. You just jump, and I'm sure it's slightly less than free fall. It's not free fall, certainly, but it's as close as you could probably get without. I don't know how many feet up, many feet up, and you just jump. And I'm a little quote unquote scared in my core about it, but I'm like, I'm doing it. I have to do it, especially at this point in my life that I'm all about overcoming and working through the fear. I'm like, first of all, I know that it's going to be one of the most exhilarating experiences. I know that for a fact. So it's interesting to just sit and say, well, then what am I scared of?
Yeah. You follow that 3-second rule. I think with any life decision, if once you, for example, jumping out of the stratosphere, once you have that clear to go for it, if you wait more than 3 seconds, you're getting in your own head and you're overthinking it. They say, go, just go. Just do it. Don't overthink it. That's a rule that applies to anything in life. Jumping out of a plane, making a business decision, speaking to somebody, speaking to a girl or a guy at the bar, or whatever it is. Follow that 3-second rule. Don't get inside your own head. And I think you will absolutely love it, as you said.
Yeah, and that's applicable to, like you said, every single thing we do in life. We have all of these in our head, these things that we're going to tell ourselves, and 99.9% of the time, those things never show up as we even thought. In fact, the opposite does, and it's a great big win. When you were 18 and you first went up in that plane, what were the surrounding circumstances? What brought you to that plane at that point?
I've always been a wannabe extreme sporty guy. I've always done scuba diving since I was in my low teens. It's not as extreme because it's a bit more actually chilled and relaxed, but it's out of the ordinary. Snowboarding, skiing, and all different water sports. So that was something that everyone talked about as being one of the most awesome experiences in life. And, it's really safe when you're attached to somebody else who knows what they're doing, has made thousands of jumps. So why not give it a go? That's what my logic was. Again, a bigger risk taker than I was a year ago.
So you went up, some nerves, I guess?
Oh yeah. But I was also excited. I remember a little bit after that, I used to always talk about that feeling of just hanging outside of the plane, getting ready to jump. And I'm waiting for the instructor literally to pull his weight into me so we can fall forward. And just that feeling of that wind in your face, looking down, being so high up. It's like what you see in a plane, but there is no window. There is no barrier. It's right there. It's absolutely amazing. And my smile is insane right now just because I love it every single time I jump. I'll send you some videos I have later of myself doing it, but it's absolutely amazing.
That'll be cool. And you think that experience and then the 10 years of other experience has helped form a successful aspect of your life?
Absolutely. I think it ties into being a risk taker. Any entrepreneur that goes on that journey is essentially a risk taker. They're leaving something that's comfortable. They're leaving something that's steady, whether it's a job, whether it's an environment, and they're taking that risk and starting their own thing, whether it's a product, a service, a company, whatever it is. It's definitely ties into being a risk taker in life. No entrepreneur has not taken risks. Is that a double negative?
I love it. So true. I want to go back and learn how you got to this place in life. Take us back to the very beginning, if you would. What was Jason Berkowitz like as a young child growing up? What was that family life like?
I was a weird, energetic kid that had a little bit of hyperness to him and thought he was funnier than he probably actually was. So I was that kid, and I always wanted to make people smile, make people laugh. Always had a weird tech side of me. I always loved new technology, reading things online, getting those magazines, and just watching the world literally change as I was young in terms of new technology. I remember when Garmin first came out with their GPS. That thing was ginormous, but it was the coolest thing because you can have a GPS in your car now that tells you exactly where to go. Just throw it on your dashboard. Hopefully those weighted pads keep it down. And it was the coolest thing. It's an awesome memory. But yeah, that was me, just being weird. Played a lot of video games. Tried working out a little bit to kind of fight bullying. Eventually these kids that were bullying me became my friends later on. So yeah, that was.
What kind of bullying was it?
I think just because I was really super hyper, I'm an easy target. So I was silly and hyper. It's easy for somebody or a group of friends to pick on somebody who's putting themselves out there in terms of like, okay, this guy's stupid or this guy's an idiot, whatever it is. So you look back at it now and it really like, yeah, if somebody called me stupid now, it's whatever. It's no big deal. When you're a kid, that really hits home a little bit. So yeah, to kind of toughen up, I started working out at a young age and exercising. And then years later, my friends used to have a joke, Jason started working out to beat up all of us because we were bullying him, but then his plan backfired because he's friends with all of us now. But it was all in good fun. Just teens being teens and bantering with each other. But yeah.
As a young child, was it a very typical household?
I grew up pretty Orthodox in the Jewish community. I went to a private Jewish school growing up. I am a child of divorce, so I did grow up with my single mother and my two other siblings. So is it typical? I don't think it's definitely not typical, but it's also nowadays a bit more common, unfortunately. But yeah, older brother, older sister, a couple years older than me, both, very close with me, and whole family. We try to be as close as we can. And
what was the big? What was it like growing up then with a single mom in that scenario?
Didn't mean that we had all the means we wanted and everything we wanted. There were days where the fridge was pretty empty. We did go hungry. I remember going to school sometimes, and I used to try to cop people's leftovers from the hot lunch the school provided. Yeah, and then on the other hand, I remember getting a job when I was really young. At 13, I used to work Thursdays and Fridays after school at a local deli, cooking barbecue chickens in the back and then cutting into fourths and eighths. Yeah.
So you said you would go hungry. That's incredible. Was there any
starving, but I definitely had a little bit of room in my stomach.
Was there any dialogue around it in your family? Did anybody talk about this, or was it just sort of unspoken?
At the time, it was unspoken. Now we kind of look back and smile at it, thankfully. My whole family, my mother, my siblings, they're all doing well for themselves. They're all living comfortable lifestyles. So it's something we can look at and smile about. Oh, yeah, I remember coming home and all we had was this or all we had was that. And there really wasn't anything to eat. So, yeah.
As far as you know, why did your father leave?
I think they just probably weren't compatible. I think at the end of the day, some people just aren't meant for each other. And that's probably one of the reasons.
And did you have a relationship with him on the weekends or anything like that?
Yeah. Usually on the weekends.
And what about today?
So.
Okay. So now you are living in this situation. You get yourself a job because you're motivated and you want to make money. And how's that all work out for you? It must be extraordinary feeling.
Getting a job to make money? Yeah,
At a young age, right?
Yeah, it meant that on the weekends, on Saturday night, I can go out and buy pizza for myself or pay for my own movie ticket. Or a year later, buy a cell phone. I was using my friend's cell phone to call everybody. I had everyone's numbers memorized in my head. I used to use payphones. If I really wanted to be rude to my friends, I would call them collect on their cell phones. Yeah, it meant that I had a little bit more of a childhood in a way where I can have a bit more spending money for the things that I want to do with my friends, and I don't have to sit at home twiddling my thumbs while getting FOMO, fear of missing out.
Exactly. What did you feel like you wanted to do once you graduated high school? Where was your ambition at that point?
It was weird because I graduated high school early, which I guess can lead on to a ginormous conversation. So I got kicked out of a private Jewish school at the age of 16 and went to another experimental school where their goal was to get kids out of high school as fast as possible.
Why did you get kicked out?
To sum it up in short words, drinking.
Oh, at 16 or?
Yeah.
Wow.
Partying. Just typical teenager stuff. And
they frown upon this.
Well, I don't blame them, yeah. But they were going through a merger and a lot of internal politics with everything and trying to reframe the image of the school. And so me and about 2 other kids out of that whole maybe what could have been 40 to 50 people who were involved, we got kicked out. And yeah, so I went to this other school that their goal was to get kids out of high school as fast as possible. And they did that successfully. They got me my high school diploma. I took all the required exams, we call it the Regents here in New York. And I joined community college right after that, not really knowing what I wanted to do.
Which college was that?
Nassau Community College.
Oh, yeah. I know
NCC, yeah.
Of course. And you did not complete?
I did a year there and then actually transferred to a college in the city, Touro College, where I was getting a bachelor's in science and biology, working towards a master's in physical therapy. Very different.
Yeah, and you're still working out, creating the body of your dreams?
The best I can. When you're at a computer all day, it's kind of hard, and you create a lot of muscular imbalances. You know, sitting at the computer makes all the muscles tight, as opposed to when you're young and fit, or when I was a personal trainer years back. You know, you're being active literally all day, so it's easier to stay on top of it. But yeah, usually in the mornings, I get my workout in.
So what happened as you enter your 20s?
I just really wanted to figure out what I wanted to do. I couldn't see myself being happy as a physical therapist. You know, I think it was something that was suggested to me, what to do in life, as opposed to being able to think for myself. And I just went along with it because I probably didn't even know better. And I had a defining moment, or one of my many paradigm shifts, in which I said, this is really not what I want to do. I am not enjoying the school. I'm doing well in school, but I'm really not enjoying it. I'm not passionate about learning the next lesson. And that was a sign for me to realize that this isn't for you. And I just took a chance and I dropped out right there and then in the interim between semesters.
And what was the next step?
Becoming a personal trainer until I could find that next step. It was something that I was good at. It's easy to get a personal training license, to be frank. So I started working at Equinox in New York City because they had a pretty decent clientele. It's a good place to make some okay money as a trainer. It's very competitive, but if you do it right, you can do well. And that was my platform until I figured out what I would do next. I know I didn't want to be a personal trainer in life. I don't bash personal trainers. I think that they're awesome. For me personally, it's exhausting to be motivating 24/7. It's really exhausting, and I found more passion in my own fitness than other people's fitness, which is selfish to say as a trainer, and realize that obviously I'm not a good trainer. So yeah, it was kind of a stepping stone in a way.
So it seems like you've had an entrepreneurial spirit all your life.
Maybe. I don't know if it was 100% entrepreneur in the direction of going out on my own, starting my own thing. But at the time, yeah, I was hustling. I guess we'll call it the grinding every day mentality.
Mm-hmm. And then you stepped into this SEO world almost by accident and by necessity, right?
Yeah, I was looking for ways to market myself as a trainer. I was working at Equinox, things were going well, but to be honest, the commissions and the prices for training sessions are split. You know, the house gets money and we get a smaller percentage. I wanted to get private clients, go to their apartment gyms, because there's a lot of luxury buildings out here in the city, and that's where the real money is. You can charge $75 to $100 an hour, and you get to keep all of it. And I was looking for ways to market online, how to get more clients. And went from how to get more clients to how to be found online, how to get people to come to you, how to market online, how to market on Google. What is SEO? SEO is an acronym. SEO is a real thing. How do I learn about SEO? And yeah, and then that was my other paradigm shift, realizing that I've always been a tech weirdo. I've always loved technology. I love browsing the internet. It was something I've always was a fan of. I was like, SEO is something that I can do. I can do to market myself online and get more clients. And in that process of trying to market myself, I started doing other websites and started ranking other projects to try to rent these websites out. So I remember one of them was a New York wedding photographer. I made it a website, and my goal with that was it didn't work at the time because I wasn't good at SEO, but my goal was just to send the phone number calls and all the leads to them, and they pay me. Just a way to make extra cash while I do my personal training business. And then it became an addiction. I became absolutely obsessed with SEO and checking the rankings, not every day, but almost every hour, manually before I was able to afford rank trackers. So yeah, it became a giant obsession.
I love that you said when you first discovered this whole SEO thing and building websites and ranking them, your desire was to build what became a New York wedding photography website and then sell the leads that you were able to rank to a wedding photographer. And you said it didn't work out, but that's more than okay, right? Because even if this was in the beginning, that's your training, that's your study, that's your school, right?
100% trial and error. If you're not failing, you're not succeeding. All these different mantras that they have, but it's definitely a learning lesson. And also at the weird time, when I started, it was a weird time in SEO where Google's algorithms started releasing a whole bunch of big updates that shook up the industry. They called them Google Panda at the time, and everything that was working at the time stopped working a couple months after I started. So kind of had to start from scratch and relearn. But yeah, I think failing definitely gained experience. You know what didn't work, and then you can work towards what does work. And then once you start seeing a process of what does work, continue repeating it until you formulate your own, I guess, process or framework to replicate.
And I think so many are fearful of even trying or attempting because of what may be the result, which is a quote unquote failure, which it's not a failure. It's a try. It's a do. It's a thing. It has a lesson, right? Your New York wedding photography process website, I'm sure, had a massive lesson in that. You have the experience now. You learned something and you can move forward from that. And it took me years and years to realize that, like you said, you have to fail in order to succeed, and you hear it all the time, but how often do we put it into play?
100%. I'm able to use, and I still today, even when we have a new client, those initial checks that I should have done behind that photography website, the initial works, executions I should have done are still resonate with me every single day today to make sure that don't forget this piece. Don't forget this piece. Don't forget this piece, because you know what happens. What happens is nothing. Nothing happens if you don't do those. So yeah, it's definitely a learning lesson, but also created a habit to make me more aware of what I do in the future.
Creating a habit, so important. Another thing that I am living, breathing, current proof of, I continue to displaced all of my bad habits, got very in tune and admitting what the bad habits are. You know what your bad habits are.
Oh, yeah.
You absolutely know what they are. You just try to justify them. Well, no, it's not me. I have to do that because no. Once I said, you know what, I can't do this anymore. This is a terrible habit. This is bad. I asked myself, what do I need to stop doing now? And the answer is clear. You just have to be ready, willing, and able to do it, and then replace those badder habits, worser habits, with better habits. And then you just do that, and you stack them, and you build on yourself. And lo and behold, you slowly but surely become the, dare I say, person you want to become and can become and have always had dormant inside you. That's the way I feel, that it's always been there. At a very early age, it got stifled for all these plethora of reasons. And then you just start unraveling them, and then life can be extraordinary.
I agree 100%. Can't argue.
How did Break the Web come about? First of all, tell me about that title. What does that mean?
Kind of bouncing off all those viral terminologies that were going around. And I remember, whether it was Kim Kardashian or Ellen DeGeneres, they were breaking the internet, and I kept seeing news articles over the course of, what was it, maybe a year or two coming up. And I wanted to do a rebrand. So when I was a freelancer, I had this website, SEOservicesNewYork.org. But as I wanted to grow into a formidable agency, instilling trust, SEO Services New York doesn't really sound like a very good brand name. You're also limiting yourself to one specific service, which is not bad, but we ended up wanting to become an inbound marketing agency overall. It just doesn't sound good. Hey, what agency do you own? I own SEO Services New York. It's a search term. It's an exact match domain. So I was thinking of ways. I think it came up pretty quickly, actually. I did a whole bunch of business name generators they have online, just trying to sprout ideas. And everyone kept saying, I found a lot of agencies that were doing kind of like, it's not a phrase, so to speak, but something that's actionable. And that's where I saw everyone was doing break the internet. Why don't you break the web? Your business, break the web. And that's where it kind of came about,
And what was that from that moment? How did you connect the dots from where you were to now I'm going into this break the web thing?
It actually came pretty quickly. Once I thought of break the web, I checked namecheap.com to see if there was any available domains. The .com was taken, got in touch with the person who owns it, refused to sell it, and now it's just sitting on a blank website. I think maybe it's redirecting or something. He didn't want to sell it, which I didn't understand why. So we ended up registering the .org, and I'm like, this is an awesome name. It sounds professional. It says what kind of implies what we do, or web involvement. And it's catchy. And ever since then, it's been a couple of years, and ever since then, people say, I love that name. And it kind of helps reassure me that I made a good decision. But even at the time, I was like, this name is awesome. It rocks. Break the web.
I love what you said about what you're saying there is you trusted your intuition. You trusted your gut. And I've learned for a long time, really, to just trust my gut, trust my intuition. You find that for yourself too?
Yeah, I actually had another agency name before that, which we used for a year, but I wasn't too happy with it. I knew I needed to break away from SEO Services New York, but I didn't know what it should be. So originally we were Hyper Web Marketing. But again, that's also, it's like 90s, it's like late 90s, early 2000s type name, had hyper speed. So yeah, I just had that in the meantime because I knew I wanted to do something a little bit different. I couldn't be SEO Services New York. And I kind of stalled on that new business name for quite a while. And then I would say mid to late 2017 was when I said, okay, we got to switch this up. So a couple of years on SEO Services New York, about a year and a half to 2 years on Hyperweb Marketing. I said, listen, if you want to attract better clients, if you want to grow your business, if you want to attract talent, that's the idea is, our talent is everything, our people, our processes, our systems, everything. And who wants to work for Hyperweb Marketing? I think Break the Web's like, yeah, I work for Break the Web. And we have gear, we have t-shirts and mugs, and definitely looks a lot cooler than Hyperweb Marketing or SEO Services New York. But yeah, having that assurance that I made a good decision is awesome. Especially when you're doing something right. Even in SEO, you launch a campaign that you're a bit hesitant about, and it brings success. It's the most gratifying feeling.
Yeah, and I'm sure like you, I've heard from so many clients who come running from other agencies or SEO people that are just disastrous.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't blame the clients because it makes sense logically to do what they've done, but they tend to go for the cheapest option. And they learn the hard way, kind of like what we mentioned before about you try something, doesn't work out, doesn't mean you should give up. And majority of our clients have been through that, where we'll try to bid on a project for them. They may not go with us because while they loved our service, our sales process, our pipeline, the whole funnel, whatever, we weren't as competitive enough. And then a year or two goes by and they're saying, oh crap, we actually would have probably saved money if we went with the better solution to begin with. And sometimes we'll re-engage conversations. They'll reach out to me. Sometimes if I'm bored, I'll reach back out to them. How's your campaign going? I look at your metrics. It's not really going as well as I think you were expecting. Would you like to talk? And they definitely have been screwed over, especially because agencies aren't really evolving. And Google's becoming more advanced, and the tactics, the algorithms, they're becoming more advanced, and people really stick with the old school tactics, which is still surprising even nowadays. I've been saying that line since 2014 is agencies aren't evolving, but it's still true, surprisingly.
How did you get from there to these big name clients and 10 plus people on your team?
Well, I definitely will admit that I didn't do it alone. I seeked out mentorship from people who were doing it right. So I was able to invest in that sort of mentorship. And instead of having to go through the trials on my own and all those years of bad hardships, thankfully, I was financially secure in a place where I could invest in consulting by people who are doing it right, whether it's creating SEO execution processes, standard operating procedures, whether it's learning how to effectively grow an agency, how to attract talent, how to keep talent, how to attract ideal clients, how to keep those clients. I definitely didn't do alone. And I think that's been the biggest thing, joining masterminds, getting coaches and mentors in this process has been probably one of my biggest assets.
And they say that every successful person has that and should have that every successful person has their own set of coaches and mentors.
Yeah, it's like that saying, if you're the smartest person in the room, you're in the wrong room. And I try to bring value where I can. That's initially how I learned SEO, is I networked with some people who were doing a very good job at it. And I didn't have money to pay them. So I tried to offer an exchange of value. And by that, it was giving exercise programs and diet programs for them and their entire family. So they knew I couldn't afford them, but my goal was to say, they're not going to coach me for free. A lot of people also, they ask for handouts and they say, can you please teach me how to do SEO? I don't have money, but please teach this. And I feel for them, or we would feel for them, but there has to be some sort of value exchange. And it might not be marketing or SEO value, financial value, but I think it's coming down to looking at what you can provide somebody, something unique about you. And for me, a lot of these marketers, we can honestly say most marketers aren't as fit as they could be. So that was something, especially because this guy's wife was telling him, you need to go to the gym with me in the mornings. And he's like, no, I have to open up my emails in the morning. And it was valuable for him. And his wife absolutely loved it. He loved it because he started changing his life. And I loved it because I was able to grow myself.
Speaking of the mornings, what time do you get up in the morning?
5 a.m.
You do get up at 5. I envy that. I'm working my way towards that. I used to get up, closer to 7. Then it was inched back to 6:30, and now for the last while, it's 6 a.m. Which I'm like, okay, great, 6 a.m. It's wonderful. I love getting up at 6, but I'm aware that there is that 5 a.m. club out there. And I'm like, my goodness, it's got to be amazing.
It's definitely not amazing, especially now as the times are changing outside. I like waking up.
It's pitch dark when I get up at 6.
Oh my God. I used to, a couple months ago, I was waking up at 5:30 in the morning and it's breaking sunlight. Sunrise is coming up and it's nice. It's a good feeling. But when you wake up and it's pitch black, it's just exhausting and mentally drains you out and you're not ready for it. You may lay in bed on your phone for an extra few minutes or so. But yeah, for me, waking up early meant I can get more done in a day. I think most people are wiped. I think we've developed this internal clock that when it hits like 5 or 6 o'clock, it kind of like phases you out of work mode and you're just mentally drained. You're exhausted. You need to unwind. Some people can go past that, which is absolutely awesome. For me, I was doing the same thing. I was waking up at 7 a.m., taking a lunch break or so. I have a gym in my building, so I'd go downstairs, work out for an hour, come up. I also, my workouts weren't as good because when I was down there working out, all I can think about was work and SEO. So I knew that I probably had to get up earlier, get my workout done first thing in the morning, come upstairs and also not rush my morning to get by the computer by 8:30, 9 o'clock. I can sit down, drink coffee, read a book while I'm drinking my coffee and unwinding and ready to get into work mode. And then I'll just start my day. And now I don't even take lunch breaks anymore. I'm at the computer from probably about 9 a.m. to sometimes it could be 7 p.m. Just straight. I don't get up until my watch tells me you need to stretch.
The watch telling you. I love it. It's true, though, what you said about there's that phrase, and I think a corresponding book, own the day by owning the morning or something like that. It's about, like you said, if even if it's an hour or 2, whatever it is. And that's what prompted me to get up earlier than I was, instead of just getting up. And I have 2 small children. So, there's that. And I'm like, well, I can't just get up, get in the shower, rush around, get the children ready, do my thing, and then go about my business. No, even an hour prior to that, which is what I get now, at least 60 to 90 minutes of quiet time, and I own that morning, and it's my time, and I get to run and exercise on the treadmill. I get to step outside for a few minutes, and it's just beautiful. And then my day starts in control that way.
Yeah, it's really funny. Mark Wahlberg does these interviews a lot recently and talking about how his mornings, he wakes up at like 3 o'clock in the morning, works out, he plays a round of golf in his backyard because, rich people problems.
Yeah, exactly. Oh yeah, the golf course back there.
Yeah, I just work down in my gym in my downstairs or in the right wing of the house.
Yeah.
And then I go outside, but I go home, shower, eat a little bit, play a round of golf, and then I come home, have family time, and I'm not crazy enough to do it 3 o'clock in the morning, but like you said, it definitely gives you a little bit more time to do you, especially when you have a family. You definitely need every member of the family, even yourself. You need some time for yourself. If you don't, then you're not taking care of yourself, and it's about your well-being, doing what you want to do, what's fun for you. If it's reading a book, catching up on an episode of something, you definitely need your time.
Without making excuses. Oh, yeah. What mantra do you live by today?
I have a mantra, but it's not laid out in words, but I think a lot of it comes down to, again, being accountable. One of the things that I tried living by was, if I'm out, even if it's a weekend, if I'm not learning something new, it's a weird day. And I try to at least read a chapter of a book I'm into every single day, and just maintaining accountability. If something isn't working, why isn't it working? Did I skip a week of reading? Did I not listen to something my mentor told me? Did I just, was I impulsive? I have a sticky note on my computer that says, don't be impulsive, so that is just making myself accountable is one of my mantras. And again, we have our core values in our agency, so those are kind of mantras in itself. But yeah, I think it's being accountable and being personal.
You also strike me as someone, certainly through this dialogue, as someone who's self-aware.
Yeah. I think so. I think being aware of everything that's happening, and that ties into accountability. Most people aren't aware of the fact that they are in control of their own life. If you want something, make it happen. If it's beyond your control, then yeah, obviously you can't really have a factor there. But whether if you do want to become an entrepreneur, take that risk. If you speak to people and you have a nice business plan or whatever, take that risk and become an entrepreneur. And that definitely is an awareness thing.
Yeah, and becoming accountable is same as owning that responsibility, which bringing it full circle to that F word, it's your fault, and that's powerful. And it took me so long to really understand and embrace that. Not that, if I'm angry or frustrated, it's because of that person and what they did or said. Guess what? No, reverse that right now. It's not about that at all. Nobody's controlling your thoughts or feelings. Think about that. Nobody's controlling them. So if there's a trigger there, you own it, you take responsibility and figure out, okay, why am I getting so angry here? What is at the root of me that's really making me angry? It's not this person. Forget this person. Don't give them that power. You keep it. It's yours. Maintain it and figure it out for yourself.
And you're probably hanging around with the wrong people.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, there's that.
And again, that comes into your fault. It's your fault that you're hanging out with people who don't make you feel good.
It's a choice. It's your choice. Choose better people or things or actions. Go ahead.
Yeah. No, that's what I'm saying. Is definitely comes down to surrounding yourself with people that are equal to you.
Do you believe everything happens for a reason?
I like to think it does. I'm not very spiritual. But I like to think that things happen for a reason. It's easy to say when good things happen, that things happen for a reason. It's more annoying when bad things happen. I try to look at it the other way and say, is it something that's in my control? Yes. If it's not in my control, then maybe things happen for a reason. It depends. Me personally, I like to think it does, but to be honest, I don't. Not 100%. Probably half and half.
In what ways might you be spiritual or religious today?
Not very many ways, to be honest with you. Again, my belief, again, it ties into just being accountable for yourself. No one's going to help you do what you need to do except for yourself. So that's my idea. And instead of I know it's also like with laws of attraction and telling the universe something. Sometimes I do believe in that. I do have a vision board, which is kind of counterintuitive to my beliefs. But I use it in a way of not only telling the universe, but telling myself every day. So when I look at my vision board every day, seeing my goals, skydiving for the longest time was on my vision board. It's a picture of a guy hanging upside down and flying through the air. And I was able to take that picture off the vision board. I use pictures in my vision board. Another one was dogs, because I wanted a dog, put myself in a place where I can logically have a dog where it makes sense. Have a dog. Everything on the sun, weight loss. I had a goal that I wanted to hit. I had a picture of a scale with a certain number on it. So it wasn't more so for the universe to see it and provide me. It was more so to remind myself of my goals, remind myself of what I want to achieve, so I don't lose track of anything.
Well, then let me ask you, Jason, what do you think happens when it's all over?
When it's all over, maybe define it's.
Our lives.
It's definitely a very controversial topic. I simply don't know, to be honest with you. I'm open to interpretation. I'm not the sense that, oh, that's it, we're done, like a battery goes dead. I just simply don't know. Is it something that I try to focus my awareness around now? No, because if it happens, it happens. And obviously if it happens, there's nothing I can do about it. I simply don't know. It'll be interesting to see what happens, but I just don't know. And I'm open to all interpretations of it, with all different religions, all different things. So I'm more agnostic in that regard.
Very mature, open-minded answer. I appreciate it. I value it. I will leave you with this final question. Jason Berkowitz, how would you like to be remembered?
Helping businesses grow. That's really it. This guy helped us grow our business from A to B. That's really it. That, and for the people that are around me, probably just made them feel happy. That I have a promo video that I recorded a while ago, but I had this line from Maya Angelou. People will forget what you said. They will forget what you did, but they'll never forget how you made them feel. So people in my personal life, and even maybe my employees or my relationships, that's probably how I would like to be remembered from a business standpoint. Just I brought success to people. I helped them achieve their goals.
Well, you've certainly brought success to me through this dialogue. You've made me happy through this dialogue. So far, so good. You are on track, and I appreciate you. I like everything you're doing. I like everything you're about, and I want to thank you for opening up, giving us your candor dialogue, and for spending time with us today. Really cool guy. I appreciate it.
I appreciate it as well, Josh. I love your energy. You're very knowledgeable. We had our chat before the recording. This was actually a real pleasure to be on here. Some podcasts aren't as fun as others, but this one was genuinely enjoyable, and I love the energy you brought. It allowed me to wake up a little bit from my work mode and take a break.
Well, that's a win. Big, big win. I can now go and relax the rest of my day with that. Truly, I thank you. Because, I always say that anytime I hear any piece of feedback from somebody, I'm all ears, because I can't assume how everything or anything I'm doing is being received. And I'm always intrigued to hear how it resonates, because the worst thing would be to assume it's landing some way and it's not. So thank you for that. Really cool.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me, Josh.
Absolutely. And everybody tuning in, I appreciate you. If there was something that you heard today and you are inspired to do something with that, whether it's jumping out of a plane or not, take action. Make something in your world happen, because that's the only way things get done. They do not get done staying in your head. That's where they begin, and then follow through with that. We're going to follow through with another episode close behind. Until we do, everybody out there, go get 'em.